Before we begin, thank you very much to the post-apocalyptic warrior of life. I love when you guys give me weird names to shout out. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for supporting the Patreon account. It is helping keep the channel going all the time and keeping the daily content going. Patreon's changing the way they're doing things. Like, they're doing this dumb thing where they're getting rid of the goals, which is where I keep all of my, like, this is how much before we unlock, episode reviews. And I can replace that with an on-screen graphic that's like a constant update, like a streamer screen would have, but I can't include like the rules of how the episodes unlock and how we handle multiple seasons, etc., etc. I'm still figuring that one out, but I think it's a dumb update. I think it's a really dumb update. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure something out. I'm keeping the goals. I'm keeping the goal lines, because otherwise it would be a headache. All right, so today I got curious. So we look back today at the Transformers movie from 1986 with these lovely rose-tinted glasses, and we like to see it for a lot more than it really was at the time. Let's be completely honest, the movie is not in itself great as a movie. As a Transformers fan, oh, it's classic, you know, and as a time capsule of the times, it's perfect in both animation and music. However, movie-wise, it's not exactly Shakespearean, you know what I mean? So, let's take a look back. I'm going to take a look at some reviews of the movie, but we're not going to go with modern stuff from Rotten Tomatoes or anything. We are going with old school. We are going vintage movie reviews. I could only find a few. A lot of the internet archives that stored a lot of this stuff, they're either, like, paywalled now, where like years before when a lot of these quotations things were pulled, a lot of those were free. They're not anymore, or the archives are just completely offline and inaccessible. So there's a lot. There's actually a lot of reviews out there, but only a few that we can take a look at. So we're taking a look at this one. I forgot to mark down which newspapers these came from. Yeah, so this one is from Jack Zink, who gave it 2 stars out of 4. All right, so okay, fair. It's a middle ground. Dino De Laurentiis. Let's get that right. That was the distributor, by the way. Has seen the future, and it is spare parts. Though not quite eager enough to produce or direct Transformers the movie, the modern champion of modern movie spectacle. The modern champion of movie spectacle. The production house, the distributor. I think they went under a year later, like a year or two later. Has put a cartoon version of the world's most elaborate erector set into national. I take offense to Transformers being called erector sets. You don't build them, for starters. All right. In it, mechanical giants spread each other's parts list all over the universe. Okay. We'll take that, I guess. There's like, what, 4 planets in the movie? That's a universe. That counts as a universe. Transformers the movie is a wall-to-wall demolition derby for kids who own toy robots, whose own toy robots break permanently the first time they're pitted against one another on the living room floor. Guilty. Parents might appreciate the idea that the movie model lasts almost 90 minutes, and there's no mess to clean up afterwards. So basically, they're telling you to go see this movie if you have violently destructive children that immediately ruin their toys as soon as you buy them. I don't think that is so much a child problem. That might be a parenting issue. Now, I don't think sending them to a movie to distract them for an hour and a half is really going to solve it. Co-produced director Nelson Shin's film is based on the Transformers toy robots and pulp comic book characters. Since 1984, the creatures. We were just spare parts before, and now we're creatures. All right. Have also been the subject of popular Saturday morning cartoon series. It was After School, not Saturday morning. It was serial. Thank you. The movie is billed as an animated full-length feature for young adults as well as kids, but it's hard to imagine how Transformers movie can appeal to anyone over the age of 12. Back then, that's absolutely true. The age barrier has to do with the maddeningly simple story. The animation, as promised, is a step above the block characters typical of cost-effective TV cartoons, though just barely. The art and graphics may be substantially more complex than the TV series, but the net visual result is less impressive than most viewers have a right to expect. Keep in mind, most animation movies back in this day were essentially compared to like Walt Disney animated movies, which were like phenomenal spectacles of animation, like back then. See, the art and no, so where am I? See, the Transformers movie has a style of a moving Marvel comic book. It was a Marvel comic book at the time, that's correct. Not bad for what it is, but much in the face of precedents like Heavy Metal and Fritz the Cat. Yeah, both. Yeah, like, you could compare them technically on an animated level. I still think there's parts where Transformers movie looks spectacular. See. 2, a respectively big name cast of voice does its best to punch some inflection through the voices. Most of these accomplishments are zapped by mechanical filtration that makes it stars like computer-generated zombies. They're supposed to sound computer-generated. They're robots. Figuring out who's who in the story isn't important. Kids will know ahead of time anyway. The bad robots are Decepticons who try to eradicate an Earth-based clan of Autobots. Okay. Sure, let's call it a clan now. Out in space, a giant metal mechanical planet is planning to vacuum up all leftover parts for its own evil purposes. Both the good and bad robots are assigned different alter egos. For the Autobots, it usually means a hot sports car or an all-terrain vehicle. The nasty Decepticons get more elaborate guises, such as warships. The universe itself is populated with a whole Santa's sleigh full of robots, ranging from cast iron sharks to stainless steel dinosaurs. Yeah, like that's totally on point. That's not arguing that. Most everyone in Ron Freeman's script is descended with varying degrees of mixed breeding. Weird phrasing. From Mad Max and Luke Skywalker. So that'd be the Junkions and Hot Rod, if you're not paying attention. None have any table manners to speak of, though, with the exception of just one cuss word. Hey, in the original version, it was 2, thank you. Transformers have learned the art of civil insult. Rambo could use a course in sentence structure from these folks. So Transformers have better diction than Rambo. Rambo needs to take lessons from Springer. I mean, for like heroic quips, like "I've got better things to do tonight than die," is a lot punchier than a lot of Rambo, who is a lot of screaming. This one is about fair, I would say. It's actually on point with a lot of its critiques, and it's not really like too judgmental. It realizes that it's a kids movie with a very simple plot. Though what I found with this is that it's critics vary very much, and things that they should be flatly agreeing on, sometimes they do not. All right, so here's Scott Kane with his review from a completely different newspaper. When the history of impossibly complicated films is written, an entire volume will be devoted to Transformers the movie. We went from painfully simplistic to impossibly complicated. I think there's a middle ground between those two that these two should have found. I mean, either the plot is incredibly simple or it's incredibly complex. If you are a movie critic and you claim to be experts on movies, you should be able to know the difference between the two. Let's see, the cartoon features makes Antonio... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. He's comparing it to a very complex movie from the day. I saw the Transformers during a matinee at a packed theater and never had the slightest clue as to what was taking place. Getting more irritable by the minute, I tried to console myself that perhaps this was like the Care Bears movie. And as a jaundiced adult... Jaundiced? Were you turning yellow? What is jaundiced? Jaded? Were you looking for jaded? I needed a 7-year-old child to explain it to me. But no, after the movie was over, I asked several children if the Transformers made sense, and they assured me that it didn't. They loved it anyway. Desperate for enlightenment, I plundered studio announcements. The De Laurentiis Entertainment Group had obligingly provided a 4-page synopsis, and after reading it 20 times, I'm still not able to reconcile the summary with what I saw on screen. With trepidation, I pass along this much information. The story takes place in 2005. The heroic Autobots want to liberate their home planet Cybertron from the evil Decepticons. But the Autobots can strike. Before the Autobots can strike, the Decepticons launch an offensive of their own, attacking Autobot City on Earth. You seem to have followed it pretty well so far. Both the Autobots and the Decepticons are Transformers. At the moment's notice, they can change shape into artillery, automobiles, 18-wheeled trucks, tanks, jet aircraft, helicopters, you name it, they can become it. Alas, despite this fantastic ability, the brutal fact is all Transformers look alike. Racism! I knew it! He's prejudiced against robots. How on earth do you stare at the cast of Transformers the movie and go, they all look alike to me? I mean, is the gigantic white and blue one really so hard to tell apart from the little pink one? Is the little tiny orange one so hard to tell when he's standing on top of the steel gray T-Rex? I mean, really? I would argue the cast of the movie is incredibly diverse looking. Like, I can understand not being able to keep track of names if you're unfamiliar, but also, why? You can tell them apart. They certainly don't look alike. Except for the sweeps. That's by intent. I'd hoped to derive a little pleasure out of identifying the voices. Among actors contributing to the soundtrack are Robert Stack, Lionel Standler, Scatman Crothers, Leonard Nimoy, Eric Idle, Orson Welles, and the much despised Judd Nelson. He was not in a good place in Hollywood at the time. The fact that children appreciate the Transformers proves only that non-stop action is sufficient for kiddie audiences, but I am irate anyway. Old man screams at clouds. This wasn't made for me, so I hate it. I am offended that Transformers is a 90-minute toy commercial. Even worse, it paints a future in which war is incessant. Hi, I'm in 2023. Guess what's happening in the world? The only human child among the characters is in tears almost constantly. He thinks his dad's dead. I think he's justified. Whenever he enjoys a laugh, it is only during a momentary lull in the battle. This is a very battle-heavy movie. That's about the one point in this critique that I'll actually give him credit. Like, there is a lot of fights in the movie, and it does get a little bit exhausting if that is not your thing. So I can kind of get that. But still, like, I'm like amazed at like how little this person paid attention, and like to literally admit this is not for me, but I hate it anyway. Like, okay, fine, it's not made for you. Walk away. Maybe don't do a review of something that you adamantly admit is not for you. Now, for archived newspaper clippings, this is the only two that I could actually find online. However, the New York Times also has theirs available for free as a digital version. So this is a website, but we are also looking at a review from 1986. So we can go through it with that in mind. So it wasn't quite pearls at the opera or green hair at rock concerts, but the audience at Transformers the movie was de rigueur in its own small way. A girl who looked 4 or 5 carried a Transformers toy. Part doll, part car, the toys represent robots that can change into trucks, spaceships, and other high-tech objects. Along the aisle, a slightly older boy waved a Transformers comic book. There's definitely, like, this, like, kind of proves that ADHD was a thing before, like, the noughts, right? Before the year 2000, ADHD was obviously a thing. If you're taking your kids to a big, like, action-filled, explosion-filled movie, and they still need toys and comic books to occupy them enough. As the off-screen dynamics revealed, the Transformers, enormously popular toys that became a television cartoon, then an anime movie, are the latest fusion of commerce and childhood imagination. The Transformers the movie, which opened yesterday at the Criterion and other theaters, has, of course, a larger budget than the television show and uses it to aim for a broader audience than Saturday morning cartoon viewers. The movie moves fast, features a rock-style score, and has more complicated animation. These robots transform in a flash. The colors are shocking pinks and electric greens. The film is packed with one-to-one combat, large-scale battles, and exploding planets. So at least this one is actually paying attention, right? This one actually seems to be able to follow what's going on. Despite these improvements, though, the movie is not for everyone too grown up. It is a variation on a standard plot in which the good Transformers, the Autobots, try to win back their home planet from Cybertron from their enemies, the Decepticons, who are aided by an evil, omnivorous planet named Unicron. Aided is, aided is a generous term. They're not really, the Decepticons really aren't being aided, they're being subjugated. And also directly attacked when Unicron decides, I'm gonna break Cybertron anyway. But again, remember, this movie's gonna have a chapter in a book full of like overcomplicated movies. Where were we? There are lots of old character phrases like the Dinobots, Autobots who transform into not too smart but super strong dinosaur robots, and Starscream, the whiny, conniving Decepticon is always trying to oust their seriously malicious leader, Megatron. Look at this. He actually knows the cartoon before going in. Imagine it's like a reviewer was informed before they went in to critique something. See, the bright young hero is an Autobot named Hot Rod who changes into a pretty sharp racing car and survives being thrown into a pool of robotic sharks on the planet Sharkticon. Nope. Okay, I gave him too much credit. Wasn't paying that much attention. While all this action may captivate young children, the animation is not spectacular enough to dazzle adults, as the Transformers have few truly human elements to lure parents along, even when their voices are supplied by well-known actors. Leonard Nimoy is the evil Galvatron. Robert Stack is the Autobot's short-lived leader, Ultra Magnus. Spoilers! And Orson Welles is Unicron. To adults, it may seem like a cruel joke that in his last movie role, Mr. Welles portrayed an entire planet, but it sounds less like Mr. Welles than it does any deep and echoing voice. I do think it's universally agreed, as much as we love the movie now, it is a depressing way for such a legendary actor to go out in his career, just voicing a cartoon villain in a movie that that bombed at the box office. Unlike most movie stars, though, the Transformers have off-screen lives and personalities that their fans will carry with them in the theater. Children's have an advantage here, for they can project their playtime scenarios on the old friends and heroes in action on the screen, while waiting for them to die. It's such a great line. Yes, project your playtime scenarios as you watch Optimus Prime turn gray and lifeless. That's great projection. See, while parents may just wonder what all the fuss is about. And I love that every single one of these reviews points out the fact that there is exactly one profanity in the entire movie. That's kind of great. All right, so that's for like news articles. We're gonna very quickly. I got a little bit of time left if I hit my little my preferred 20-minute mark. We're just gonna bop over to the TF Wiki and we're gonna stare at a few little quotations from other reviews from back in the day. Now, these are from articles that I could not pull up because the source is just not available anymore. So, Variety Film Reviews. The Transformers, in which Orson Welles plays a planet, is pure headache material. Target audiences of cartoon watchers will probably find the film unintelligible, noisy, and unoriginal. Box office prospects are dismal. Depending on who you ask, the film cost $4 or $5 million. And depending on who you ask, the film either made the movie either grossed 2.5 million or 5.5 million, and somewhere around those ballparks. So it is either a complete bomb and failure or very slightly profitable. Either way, overall, is still a loss for the companies that were making it. By the way, see, Leonard Maltin, legendary film reviewer, obnoxious animated feature about the title good guys. That refers to the bad guys, too, who defend the universe against an evil planet, which has a voice of his own, presented by Orson Welles. That deafening rock score certainly doesn't help. I would argue that a little more than a feature-length toy commercial. That last line's not entirely wrong, let's be honest. Let's see. The New York Times, who read Dallas Morning News. Transformers movie featuring an anime inspired by a syndicated TV show inspired by Hasbro toy is utterly uninspired entertainment. Montreal Gazette. If you can swallow, without gagging, a large measure of sentimental and offensively religiosity, lines like, "Do not grieve, soon I'll be one with the Matrix," whispered by a falling hunk of Autobot metal, then you have a better than even chance of leaving the theater on your own 2 feet. Really? That was the part. Oh my god, these robots, these living robots from another planet might have a religion. Oh my god. Oh my God. Offensive religiosity. I've never heard the word religiosity either. Really? Stupid. Stupid. Like, even if you're not religious, that's just stupid. They're fictional characters. Jeez. See, everything is poorly drawn. That's wrong. I'm just going to flat out tell you that is wrong. Well, when it's in focus, one-dimensional, it is terribly hard to separate the robots from the backgrounds. I disagree again. And there's no easy way to tell the good guys from the bad guys. Except the bad guys all have evil red eyes or big purple logos saying that they are the bad guys, or they are dark, ominous colors, or the heroes are always bright, light colors. In an earlier movie based on the same sort of robots, GoBots, The Battle of the Rock Lords, the good guys were either white or colorful, and the bad guys were dreary, and they had distinct personalities. Not in this movie. Everyone looks and sounds alike, except one pink robot who is female good guy. Her tin voluptuousness makes her stand out. Okay, so we know where their priorities were. Thank you, Toledo Blade. So number one, he's saying the Rock Lord movie was better, but also they're saying... I was just staring at the robot TNA the whole movie. Good. That completely validates your opinions. The Palm Beach Post, even when the All-Star cast doing the voiceover and the rock music score, there's still nothing more than a rip-off of a successful toy line. How do you rip off the toy line that you yourselves made? That's not how that works. That's really not how that works. Did you think you were going to something that was a bootleg? Did you think it wasn't associated with the real toy line? The great animated villains like the Wicked Queen in Disney's Snow White had motivations as compelling as any live-action character. Unicron apparently destroys entire worlds because it had nothing else to do. Okay, LA Times, that's actually on point. Let's be fair. Unicron's just kind of floating through space, eating planets, and the reason why he's doing it is not really clear in the movie. He's not, like, we associate it with like a Galactus thing of like he's hungry and he has to eat planets to survive, but that's not exactly spelled out in the movie. That's not even like remotely claimed in the movie. So that okay, fair. This could go on. There is legitimately a review out there that does quote that the Rock Lord and GoBots movie is better than this one for various reasons, which is also hysterical, but that just gives you kind of an example of what people thought of the movie back in the day. It was not well received, because it's well known that kids were crying at the movie, and there's a protest afterwards that brought back Optimus. But things like this from the professionals, yeah, I would suggest going to TF Wiki's page for Transformers the movie and checking out some of the other reviews that came up. There was one review that also stated that like literally flat out admitted they weren't paying attention, but they still reviewed the movie anyway. So that's also just admittedly kind of a trait of Hollywood in general, not really respecting animated works as much as live action. That comes with the territory though. So thank you for watching this little time capsule. Hope you learned something, and yes, we can appreciate it much more today, thanks to nostalgia. But back in the day, yeah, rough times for the movie. But, you know what? We fully know what the movie is. We love it anyway. Until next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.